Bitcoin prices have topped out and dropped $1,000 over the past few days. It's the 17th of February 2020. Bitcoin prices have dropped almost $1,000 over the past few days. We can see that we came up to a number 1 point, we came down and we retested, we hit a number 2 point, we broke the uptrend line, and now we are forming a flag in the prices. So when we move back to the 12-hour time frame, we can start to see a perspective of how these prices are setting up. And through this episode, I want to go through our indicators and get an idea if we are going to be pulling back about to the 50% level here, or are we catching ourselves inside this flag and going to continue higher right from this point. And most importantly, we're at the end of the episode, we're going to take a close look at what this means for altcoins. Many of them pulled back as Bitcoin dominance rose again, but was it the right time to hold or was it the right time to fold? We'll zoom into the altcoins at the end of this episode. Let's start off with the relative strength index and our weekly index. As we're looking through prices, I've been expecting it to continue to do this kind of uptrend in the weekly, just in the longest term. And so I've been expecting that this would come back, never knowing when or how. But now that we've got a top formation shaping up here, let's zoom in and take a look at what the RSI is telling us. On the daily time frame, we could see it coming up. It's easy to see it in hindsight, of course, but on this very day, we were doing the video talking about the divergence. As we zoom into the 12-hour time frame, we've been watching for this trend line to break all the way along. And then finally, as this top formation was setting up, we were fortunate enough to record a video right there. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, it starts to get interesting because we've changed now. The oscillation is looking for the bounce up from here. When we get into the 1-hour time frame, now we're getting a divergence in the RSI here, which is giving us a little bit of a bullish indicator right at the end of that bottom of the 4-hour trend line here. So that is really nice to see that that is shaping up into a bullish divergence on the 1-hour time frame as we're coming down to this specific RSI level. Just zoom into the 15-minute just to, zoom right into these kind of details. As we are getting the potential 1, 2, 3 formation setting up here, it would be important, and it needs to get up above these levels again now to give us any kind of bullish turnaround. And I'm looking for the potential for the upside, even though we're on our way down. Now we are on the uptrend, and I'm watching for every consolidation now as a buy signal. And every time it comes down, I'm just watching for the 1, 2, 3 formation. And when we get it, then there's another action potential spot right there. The purpose of this video stream and going through these indicators day by day by day is to map out what happens with these indicators underneath the 1, 2, 3 formation as it forms out, so that we can start to get a feel for it, the flow of it. It's not the still frame picture, but it's the flow, the action flow as it moves from week to week through a top formation while the RSI is diverging. And we'll see more of the details here. Let's go into the weekly on balance volume. What I have here is Bitstamp, and that's the one I've been using a lot. And I had a great comment from one of the guys under a YouTube video saying that I should consider looking at other places where there is more trading volume. Like Bitstamp is way down there. When you look at the top volume trading platforms, I was looking at it went 64th for Bitstamp right now for total volume in Bitcoin trading. So what I did is I added in, let's see if you can see the difference, down, focus your eye down here. This is Bitfinex volume now, and we can see that it did go stronger sooner through this bull market, and we can see that relatively it's much the same relative difference as we see over here on Bitstamp now. Bitfinex, Bitstamp. So while they have more volume on Bitfinex, Bitstamp, Bitfinex, for relative, they hold up pretty good relative to one another. I like Bitstamp because it gives more history, where Bitfinex for the USDT is kind of limited. And so I'll keep going on with Bitstamp just so that I can always get this historical perspective in it when I'm scrolling back and forth. So let's zoom in on this volume, because this was one of the early indicators that we were looking at that was telling us this was a top formation. We still have enough volume. It still hasn't turned negative here on the daily. We go on the 12-hour time frame. We got a first little dip of switch to volume, negative volume here. Let's continue to zoom in on the 4-hour time frame. It is more negative, and this, I think this is where we identified that this was easing off. The volume was easing off and turning a little bit negative when we did the last video. So now let's zoom in to see the nature of this dumping right here on the 4-hour time frame. Zoom in on the 1 hour. So we had big dumping here, less dumping here, and even though the price went lower, the volume wasn't really that strong. So the bears are not convincing me here. Now let's go on to the next indicator. The weekly MACD indicator is still very positive. We still had these two crosses to the positive, so overall the trend is still got a lot of strength. Let's go into the daily and see. The daily has crossed negative, so this has got a little bit more momentum than I had figured it would. So the daily is oscillating a little bit, and while that is oscillating, we can watch that it'll go through these on the way up. When we pull this back and we're looking at the daily MACD indicator, we can see that it oscillates deeply during the uptrend. And so that it's crossing, we got to pay attention to, but now we got to really watch for when it's crossing back positive again. No matter how far down this goes, how much deep we've got to go, we'll pay close attention to when this 1 day time frame crosses back positive. That'll be a really important indicator. The 12-hour has also crossed negative. So last episode, we were watching really closely on the 12-hour. And it was in a very close triangle here. So as this spread and we saw the divergence build out from this 1, 2, 3 formation, it was a very clear confirming signal. And if we go into the 4-hour time frame, this did not cross positive as we were expecting. I was expecting right off of this top for it to continue and go. But I was identifying that if it didn't cross and continue down and this broke the top formation, it's an important trading signal. And if we zoom in now on the hourly time frame, this, as we were coming up to this break here, the hourly was something we were watching for the strength and for the cross to the weakness right there. It tried to cross here, but no go. As we're breaking these levels and we're seeing the 1 hour spreading wider, that is really clear. Now, however, we're in the 1 hour and we see that this is giving us a positive divergence as we see in the 1 hour on balance volume. So I'm keen to track to see how this plays out. As we go into the Ichimoku cloud in the weekly time frame, this is something we're certainly watching for the last few episodes to drag this back to say, when's the last time we went through a green cloud? Well, we didn't. It came up and then the blue line, even though it crossed above the red, it eventually came down below. We went into this big downtrend the last time we came to the top of a green cloud in the Ichimoku. So now here we are at the top of the green cloud. The blue is about to cross the red, but prices are coming back. The cloud is twisted red on the weekly, so we may get more pullback here than I'm wanting. And we'll have to zoom in and see what the Ichimoku cloud's saying. The daily gives us lots of time. This will give us all this time. It'll come all the way into the cloud, and that would be a buy signal in the uptrend. And it would be perfect, area for support for it to come back to there. In addition, it would likely be just right at the 50% level of the retrace. So if the daily does come back to these levels, the MACD will come back down on the daily and it'll cross positive when we come up to these levels again. So we're already mapping out where the targets are to get back in and what indicators are going to be telling us what so far at the daily time frame. Now the 12-hour is the same type of shopping where I'm looking for that buy signal in the uptrend. The blue line hasn't crossed below the red yet, so it's not telling us to sell. The 4-hour, however, already crossed below, and it did it perfectly with this 1, 2, 3 top formation just as the MACD 1 hour was flaring wider. This was confirming with the cross at the same time as the 1, 2, 3 top formation. So all of these things set up, and the 4-hour is still wide, like the blue is still plenty below the red. It'll have to come up and cross while this builds a 1, 2, 3 formation here in order to give us that turnaround signal and the continuation. Other than that, this is now giving us a shopping space for a sell signal in the downtrend if we go over sideways and come into this descending cloud. So for now, the sideways cloud is okay in the 4-hour time frame. It's done that before. It does that. This is the oscillation of the 4-hour. And we'll watch to see how it plays out on the 12-hour now. As I zoom into the 1 hour time frame, this is where we see divergences in the other indicators, but this is not giving it in positive divergences. Not yet. It's going to be a little bit of time before we get back up above these levels and above the cloud and have everything turn around before this is going to give us a good strong signal. So we really need some sideways action for a while here for this to give us any bullish turnaround. Unless, it just starts to go straight up again. There's no accounting for that, except that we do have a bull flag. And if it breaks above that bull flag, it may just cut right through that cloud like nothing. So the 1 hour Ichimoku isn't giving us the bullish signals that the RSI divergence and the MACD divergences are. And I want to pay attention to that, because at this moment, when the 1 hours are not lining up, I have often overruled the Ichimoku, saying that, oh, bad Ichimoku, you're not lining up. But then it turned out that the Ichimoku was correct, and these indeed on the 1 hour time frame relative strength index is not actually a bullish divergence. It does seem like a bullish divergence for me though. So let's continue on. Looking at the weekly Bollinger Bands, we went right across from the second standard deviation from the bottom all the way to the top. Now it's bounced off of that and pulled back, and I want to get inside that and pay attention, because the last time we went all the way across, we continued up the trend, but I want to go back to the history to see what else happened when we went right across. Not very many times did we actually hit the bottom, go all the way across like that. This one didn't make it. This hit the bottom, but then took a long time to go all the way across. This hit the bottom and went all the way across. And then mooned, stayed up along the edge before it pulled off. This one almost went all the way across. So we were in a really rare spot for it to come, touch the bottom and went all the way across. That hasn't happened before. That's not the way we see it here. This is really, for me, it's really super bullish. Now I want to zoom in on this because I really want to watch how does this play out up here. I'm expecting it to continue and play up from what it's done here. And if it doesn't, I want to study that. So let's go to the daily. It's coming down to the midline. Not much news here that I can use. 12-hour time frame. It's come from the mean reversion sell signal to the mean reversion buy signal right there, right across. So since this is a mean reversion buy signal right there on the 12-hour, I'm going to zoom into the 4-hour and see, yeah, it's been 3 of them now. With that divergence on these other indicators, let's pay attention to this, because each one of these could have been the mean reversion that we need to do, but it didn't give us a confirmed 1, 2, 3 after the mean reversion. So we got the mean, we didn't get the reversion, right? It didn't break the 1, 2, 3. Then it came down, we got the mean. That's the number 1. Here's the number 2. Here's the number 3. Oh, no, it didn't do it. Here's the number 1. Here's the number 2. Here's the number. Now, if it breaks above these levels, we have a little 1, 2, 3. We have the mean reversion starting to verify. We've got all of those bullish divergences in the RSI, the MACD, and a little bit in the on-balance volume. I'll be keen to see what the Ichimoku cloud does as this unfolds, because the Ichimoku cloud is right now not agreeing with a bullish stance that the other ones are yet. So it'll be a day or two before this plays out to get the full answer, but that's not the big games for me. The big game is what's going in altcoins. Altcoins have made phenomenal gains this last little while, and even though they've pulled back, and for many of the alts we've seen the exponential moving average cross on the 4-hour time frame, they came back and retested their original 1, 2, 3 bottom formations and created stability. So for me, this is a confirmation of the bull trend on its way, and not means to be selling out of the altcoins. In fact, we can go into the details here, and this is really great that we have this captured here, because all of these coins exited on the 4-hour exponential moving average crossover here today. All of these coins did the same thing. So when that 4-hour 60-20 exponential moving average crossed over, it's after the 1, 2, 3 top formations that we've seen. These are also coming back to the 1, 2, 3, the original 1, 2, 3 bottom that we bought into. If you'd like to get more of that kind of training so that you can discern whether or not this kind of signal is something that you should take action on, be sure to head over to the website. Get the free training. If you're an altcoin holder and you're afraid of missing profits, I want to teach you a foolproof trading plan that you can use on every altcoin that you own. And a little trick to guarantee that you will never get liquidated ever again, so long as you follow this trick. And it's all inside this free webinar companion study guide. It's the base for what we put together in the Bull Market Watch. Now, the Bull Market Watch is a spreadsheet that takes care of all of the markets on Poloniex and Binance on your behalf. So you can just log in and you get to see which are the 26 coins on exit, which are the coins on hold status right now. Plus, you get our commentary as the market unfolds so that you can understand and contextualize what this kind of trading signal actually means for the trading plan that you may have put together. Lots of great stuff going on. Head over to the website Introtocryptos.ca, and if you'd like to sign directly up for the Bull Market Watch, I recommend you go to the main sales page, read more about it to understand what we actually do and provide with the service. It's an educational add-on to help you build the habits of a long-term position trader, and all of the knowledge you need to go along with it. There's options to pay in PayPal monthly or to join and save by paying in crypto for a quarterly fee. Thanks again for watching all the way through. Let's go back to Bitcoin, and I invite you to join us over on Discord, where the conversation never ends about what is going on with Bitcoin. Sometimes people are really expressing what they feel about the markets. So thanks again for tuning in. See you on the next episode. Bye for now.